And welcome to the Bookish Rumbles podcast with me, Holly.
And me, Becky.
And it's November, if you've noticed, you may have. I think it is like an official thing now. It's like novel writing month, which is, I think it's because of like a certain company, which we don't tend to, they did a lot of bad stuff, so. But
yes,
we're in NovelBound, which is a writing collective, and they do their own version of that certain thing in November called Camp NovelBound, where you pick your own goal, but you aim to write as a sort of like, the main goal is like 50,000, and you get like a gift card type thing if you hit 50,000. So it's like it's incentive, but it's about just making progress, essentially. And we've both taken part in that.
Yeah.
Your project, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so my goal for this month has been 25,000 words. Whether I'm going to get that is another question entirely. I think I'm halfway there and we've only got 9 days left. So the chances of me making that are very, very slim. I don't think I'll do it because like there's been days where I've only been able to do 100 words. I think with me, I can't write every single day. It's been a challenge. I can't write every single day because I feel like I'm forcing it, but I've had a go. Like if I was on a deadline, like a proper deadline, I think I'd be like...
Because it's like a job at that point.
It has challenged me, though, to get a bit done. I've got about 15,000 words so far in my work in progress, like overall, because I already had like 3,000 words to begin with anyway, because I had the first chapter. So I have got a good chunk of the story done. So my project is actually, so it was going to be YA, but I am leaning towards a new adult pirate fantasy. It's going to be about pirates and exploring the seas in this world, and there's going to be battles, and it's going to be a duology, actually. I've always had the plan for it to be a duology, but the main premise is that we're following Marin. So Marin lives with this family, like found family, his dad, a couple of others, and one day they go out on a boat for Marin's birthday, and unfortunately a storm comes in and this boat capsizes, and it's believed that Marin is the only survivor, but Marin has always held on to the belief that nobody actually died, that they're still alive out there. So it's this belief that's kept him going for like 10 years. I won't go into spoilers, but he's never been able to get a job because of what happened to him during the shipwreck. So because of this, he's been wandering around. Luckily, like the person he lived with, there was one person that stayed behind, and that was Sereth, who's one of the other characters' sisters. We've got Marin's dad, who is a fisherman. They go out, that's the main source of income. You've got Marin himself. Then we've got Olive, which is Sereth's younger sister. They didn't always live with Marin's family. They kind of showed up later on. So I won't go too much into that because that's kind of a bit spoilery. And then we have got Kauri. We've got Kauri. So we've got Kauri, Tauri.
I will say that's like the funniest character.
Yeah, Kauri. Spelled Cowri. Those are the characters, and the main characters. And then we've got Tridgen, who is who's gonna have a role later on in the story. I can't say too much because I'm gonna spoil a lot if I carry on. But yeah, because Marin's been injured, and one day, while like during the night market, he comes across this tavern where Captain Saw of the Serrated Rack is just drinking it because he's been looking for a recruiter, and he had to fix a map because Marin really likes maps. Like he's obsessed with maps. He's always wanted to be a cartographer, and so he's offered an opportunity to go and create a maps, and that's where the true story starts. Like he goes to set sail on the ship. So we're going to follow his journey from there as he tries to find what really happened to his friends, if they're truly alive. And then obviously there's political stakes involved, and I've been doing a lot of world building. There's a lot to do with like linguistics in here. I've been playing with linguistics. I will give a little bit of spoilers. For example, in chapter 7, there's a conversation between a few of the crew members, and they talk about what he's called the King Beyond the Sea in from Port Orgris, which is where Marin's from, but other people call Orgris Port Orgris, but locals call it Orgris. The other people call him the Crown, I just wanted to show just a bit of linguistic differences. There's not a romantasy in any way, shape, or form. There's going to be a romance in it, but it's not the main focus. The main focus is, of course, on Marin and him trying to find his friends. It's a lot to do with just about like exploring and holding on to hope. I will say a lot of the inspiration I've used has been like a lot of the world building I've been using like sea terms. So, for example, what Orgris, a lot of the culture is based on shells. I've completely made all the stuff, but like shells are kind of part of the main culture. The next island they're going to, if you've noticed, like I've got Captain Saw, the serrated rack, seaweed. So the next island's going to be sort of based on seaweed, and how I'm going to tie that into that. And then I'm just thinking that would be a fun thing, but
Yeah.
Orgris is like the big island between the three islands. So in this world, there's obviously the continents, which I haven't gone into yet because that's going to be maybe, I don't know, maybe I might do a sequel series. I don't know. But we're going to focus on the 12 free islands because that's where the story takes place most of the time. Yeah, I'm so excited. I was literally writing it last night and I just had the idea. Everything was just starting to connect. I was like, this. Some of the relationships, I would say, Treasure Planet with John Silver.
I
and
haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Treasure Planet?
No.
Okay. So basically there's like a found father relationship. I'm gonna have that kind of vibe with one of these characters called Geen in Marin. So I really like that.
Yeah.
I kind of like the dynamic.
I do love stuff like that. It's especially when they've lost a parent. More than just like the parent was like awful. I think it's really sweet when they're able to like sort of move on from like the grief in that way.
Yes. Oh, I will say Captain Saw isn't the pirate. We are going to have the pirates come on later on in the story, but I won't spoil it because that's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
But like, I'm thinking I'm probably going to aim for 100,000 words, I think, because I am probably going to self-publish this. I think I'm aiming for next December, but that's just kind of like a figurative date. It might take me longer than that. I'm not rushing. I think I'm going to stick with self-publishing from now on because you don't need an agent. I feel like it depends on what you want from the career path, and I just like being able to do what I want, basically.
As well, you want to build your own publishing business, so it's like
yes. So yeah, that is on my side. Yes, I want to create. I mean, because technically, I do own my own business since I have self-published my first debut novel, and like a lot of the stuff I have to do is very business-like. Like, I mean, I'm doing a book market this weekend, where I'm hoping to selling a couple of book copies of my book. I'm really hoping I can sell at least one copy, because if I can just sell one copy,
I think it's exciting because it's so different from your last book.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because, like, I think I've probably said this before, I'm not a writer who likes to write the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I think if you're stuck in one world writing the same genre, not that this is to say people like writing the same genre, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I just like to write different things. I'd say my main genres I really like romance, but like a romance with a twist. Like it's got to have depth to it. Fantasy, because fantasy has always been one of my loves. Gothic horror, which I absolutely love, and then urban fantasy as well, because I do have an idea for that.
Yes.
But I think I mainly want to focus in fantasy. I've seen quite a few pirate fantasies, and I think I want to try and read them to see what they have done, to see like, oh, they've done this and because obviously this is a new adult, but like I can't make this adult because my writing style just isn't like that unless I'm really, really focused. But again, first draft.
Yeah.
Just gotta keep going.
With first drafts, it is a lot about getting the thoughts on. I can't really talk too much about my one because mine is a sequel to the book I'm querying. I've been feeling really bad about querying lately, and then every time I start to feel bad, I have to stop myself and be like, babes, you have sent off less than 40 queries. Literally don't even. And like I completely rewrote every part of my materials like in like September sort of thing. So like there's no reason for me to be feeling as, but I'm the kind of person where it's like, well, what if I'm not good enough, So I think that's part of why I feel like I need an agent, is because I need somebody to like an industry professional to be like, yes, this is good, you should be published for this, because otherwise I'm just going to lose my mind. Especially because, as well, self-publishing is so much work, and I just
Yeah.
like the vibe of like giving up is it's so tempting sometimes, I can't lie.
So with the age, like I was talking about this earlier, actually. So with agents, because it's so subjective
Yeah.
that sometimes I understand, like, yes, it's a business and business sells, but sometimes you see something that's published and I'm like, how did this get published? So it's like it's sort of like
It's really
drawing the
weird.
short straw with agents, I think, because like they can you're I suppose a novel could get ignored that's really, really good and never gets picked up and they choose to self-publish instead. And an agent's missed it completely. Like, that's what I mean. It's so subjective. I, like, publishing is such a timing business, isn't it? You've got to have the right timing.
This is the thing that gets me a lot, is that on the one hand, I'm not like not confident, right? Like I the thing is, I think that my book as an idea is good, and that it's good for the current market. Formula One is getting more. That's the book for anyone who's like just joined in. My book that I'm currently querying, the one that this book that I'm writing for this month is a sequel of. It's about a Formula One driver who's a young woman, and it's basically a lot of like the stuff that really interests me about the driver side of the sport, which is like the mental health, the idea that you could lose your seat if you're not good enough, but like not being good enough is something that changes from like week to week, basically. Like one week you could win a race and the next you could DNF because you make a mistake. That's really interesting to me, especially with women. The world that I created is one where it's a more progressive world than our own. For example, one of the places that they go to, it is illegal to drink alcohol in that country. It's not illegal in this book. There is a mention in the second book of, in like the first chapter, where she's talking about how one of the robes in her hotel and like the logos of the hotel and stuff is very clearly aimed at the white people visiting the country, because it's a country where, you know, the only people really living it up are the rich and typically like the sort of whiter people, for example. And it's so it goes into stuff like that, but it aims to do it in like a light-hearted way where the commentary is there, but it focuses on the main character. It focuses on her struggles. The second book, I can say, it follows her in the sort of peak of her career. The whole series, the first book is her first 2 years, that's why it's called Formation Lap. The second book is about her sort of prime years as a driver, and then the third book is like the end of her career. This one has a lot more of her personal life, and specifically her relationships with her friends, her boyfriend, her family. She's moved away from home. That happens at the end of the first book. It's not like a spoiler, really. But you know, she's in a new place. She's got like these new things going on. She's like a proper adult now. She's not just an adult who like is able to travel on her own and do stuff on her own. She's an adult who's actually responsible entirely for herself. She isn't always surrounded by people who want to support her, you know? And a lot of this book is focusing on her relationship with her main rival, who she used to be friends with. Like the details of their friendship and stuff are explored in this book. It sort of is left on like a satisfactory cliffhanger at the end of the second book, where you could read it as a standalone because that's what you need for querying, really. But it also is a book that like you want to know more about this character. I think your least favorite character was Joel, if I'm remembering. I might be remembering wrong, which isn't like a bad thing. But
Oh, I can't remember. It's been that long since I read it.
there are a lot of people who this is the thing, right, that I was getting at. A lot of people have read this now. I say a lot of people, it's a few. It's hard to say like a lot, but a few different people, mostly people who either didn't know me at the time or who just still don't really know me apart from like my work. One of them is really sweet. I don't know if she listens to this, but she read it, she really liked it, she was very complimentary about it, and she still follows me and she's like excited to read the sequel, which is really great. I love that. I love having like a fan. That's so great. But that's like the thing, right? Is that this second book, I've been having so many doubts about it because I feel like because it's a sequel and I didn't just write the first one, I should have done what I originally did plan to do and just written them all in a go so that the writing style was the same. I've been feeling so weird about it, and I do think that it's the same, but also it's very different from the first one. The first one is primarily about her getting used to this sport. It's mostly set during the races. There are a few moments not in the race world, but this one is a lot more away from the races. It's about, this is a spoiler, I guess, but it's not really a huge one. Again, she starts to struggle a bit with addiction and like unhealthy relationships with alcohol specifically. That has been, I don't want to say teased, but it's like it's been foreshadowed that there's a reason for it from the first book that was very intentional. She basically goes through a different arc in each book. In the first one, it's about her not feeling quite like she fits in. In the second book, it's about, is she good enough? Full stop. Not does she deserve to be there because she knows that she is a good driver, but is she good enough to be considered like the best? And I feel like that doesn't really spoil. But like this is the second book is about her championship fight, basically. And it's about her relationship with her friend, who is her main rival in this fight, and who she had a huge falling out with. And the way that that impacts like all of her sort of life, the way that her self-worth even sort of then has been put into her career, and she sort of falls apart a bit. And that's not, again, that's not a spoiler. the whole series is about driver mental health and the way that people fall apart. There are all of these pressures that are put on them. Especially the first book deals a lot with cameras. There's a lot of very intentional language. I actually would say like you should look up our individual YouTube channels because we've both discussed our books. I especially did a video where I talked about how I write a novel, and I did a bit about the editing process where I showed the difference between my like first draft and like the current draft, and like the choice of language and stuff was brought up, and like the very specific because for example there's like a thing where it's like she's being caught on camera, like the idea that she's sort of being hunted by the press is like it's a thing that's played up in like it's all very intentional. Like the first book, which is edited it's been edited a few times now, right? That one has a lot more strength to it, and I think because I'm judging this book to that book, what I'm getting at very long-winded. Basically, I have 32,000 words currently. I have done basically all of that. I did write a bit of the first chapter, and then I rewrote it completely. I just cut it. I was like, I actually don't want to start in this point of the story, so I'm going to cut this out. And so none of that has been used. But 32,000 words out of, I set a 45,000 word goal, but I think I'm aiming for 50 because I want that gift voucher. I didn't write anything yesterday. I'll actually just fill that in now because I had a hospital appointment and I was like, absolutely not, I'm not writing. And I also took a different day off where I wrote nothing. But when I write, I'm typically like, this is the thing, you don't usually write every day. I did write every day. Like when I make myself, I think the average is about 16 to 1800 words. At the minute, it's about 1700. Because I took 2 days off, so obviously that's skewed with it a bit. I've been writing a sequel and I'm thinking a lot about themes, and it's playing a lot into my insecurities because it's a first draft, and so it feels bad because I'm figuring out how to include the off-track stuff. Like for example, so far I've got a bit where she goes to an event off the track for the work that she does for like the business side. I've got a bit where she goes to visit somebody, and it feels very weird because I don't want it to just be this is all about the racing, because that was never what it was intended to be. And I think especially after the first book being so heavy on that, the first book, it very much is sold off of like, this is a book for Formula One lovers. You missed Formula One over the winter break, so did I. That's why I wrote this book. And And like it has a lot of race sequences. There are definitely going to be less in the second book, and some of the race sequences take place in previous years because it is like flashbacks, memories of her previous times in her career with relation to this friend that she was friends with at the time of these flashbacks and stuff, seeing the fallout. And it's just really weird, basically. It's really weird. I can't talk too much about the specifics because it's one of those books where that stuff really is just like a spoiler. But basically it's challenging me, and I'm kind of hating it, but I'm also really loving it at the same time. Like, it's so bizarre. And I think it's just so weird because like if I was to think about like querying right now, I'm specifically waiting, actually. There's a person who's currently reading my book who has thoughts, and she's going to give me them, and that's great. So I'm waiting before I send off the next batch of queries. But, like, I am getting really nervous because writing a first draft of a book that is a sequel to a book that I've already written is testing my security in myself as a writer, which is bizarre because I feel really confident, but at the minute I'm really thingy. Just, I don't know. I can't even remember how I started talking about this, but I swear it was like relevant.
It's just nerves talking about like it's still, you're expanding this world that you don't want to mess up. It's like if I wrote a sequel to The Heartbeats on Air, I don't want to write a sequel. I'd write a companion piece, like I mentioned before. Probably extend the story, but I'm like, would I ruin the story? So it's like those nerves that you're like, am I gonna ruin the story? Because sometimes people get a book deal and the book should only be one book, and then they expand it into 6 books, and then you kind of lose what's going on with the plot of the book. It's like, what?
Yeah. I will say that was, again, I've spoken about this a little bit, but the book that I came up with, I've decided it's going to be called The Chain because that makes sense thematically, but also The Chain, the song by Fleetwood Mac, was used as like the theme music for the BBC's broadcasting of Formula One years ago, and that gives me such like nostalgia. It's kind of weird, but for me, like, this was always going to be a trilogy and it was always going to follow her entire career. And it just, like, at the time, I decided to write something completely different because it was like, I don't want to get my hopes up by writing a sequel and then the first book doesn't get picked up. And I kind of regret that, but also I do feel like at the same time, maybe I'm just getting too in my head about it. Like, maybe these characters are being written correctly. And also, again, it's a first draft. Like, the first thing that I do when I rewrite dialogue, for example, is, in the moment, I'm just thinking of, like, what is being conveyed. When I rewrite it, my, like, process of dialogue, I would say it is quite realistic dialogue, because I go through and I think, well, how would this person say it? And I think it's natural to have that disconnect from a story that you wrote. It's been months since I last wrote Formation Lab, and even then, that was rewriting what was already there in a better way. It was basically just like line edits. So I don't think that it's that weird, and yet at the same time, I'm still. So it's like, it's strange, and I came up with the idea for that like prequel. And I felt like that was different enough. And I do stand by that. You agreed. It very much could be read as a separate thing. It's not been written yet, but like I think I'm going to keep like the tense and stuff the same, maybe. Or I might even do it in third person past tense. I don't know. I want them to be able to be read separately, but if you wanted to like get if you needed your Formula One fix and you'd finished my trilogy, there was this other book there. But I spoke about this in a video that I'm posting tomorrow, actually. And I want to talk about it with you because this is kind of the opposite of what you're doing in a way, but also not. Where I have decided recently to streamline my writing. And so basically what I've done is I went through, and let me get it up because you'll see this in the editing stage. People at home, I'm sorry. I know that it's really annoying when people say, hey, look at this thing that you can't see. But I basically went through and like I listed like every story that I could think of that I've written. Um, it might not be a complete list because I did it in bed. I was literally like, I need to do this right now. But I went through and I ordered them by sort of genre, like where they fit in the sort of overarching themes and stuff. And I'll send it to you now, actually, so that you can see.
Okay.
But essentially, I did that because I was like, thinking realistically, I want to be self-published. That means that I want my books to be published one after the other, sort of consistently. A publisher might not like that I jumped from contemporary fiction about sports to Romeo and Juliet 70s vampires story to a World War II book to, like all these different things. So I've written them out in terms of contemporary, which is the first batch that I'm going to do. So that includes Formation Lap. And then the next book that I'm going to write, I am going to finish my Project World War II, which is my current one. But I'm then going to go on to the single one, which I actually sent you like a little bit of.
I know. Can I just, like, those are two very different things. Good Luck Charlie, which is a Disney comedy, and then Serial Killer.
Good Luck Charlie, actually,
I loved Good Luck Charlie growing up.
It's called that because I don't have a name for it yet, but it's basically a book about somebody who finds sort of video diaries that their dead sister, well, their missing presumed dead sister left for them, and they try and use those to like piece together what happened.
Oh, kind of like, like 13 Reasons Why with the tapes.
Yeah, kind of like that vibe.
Okay.
So it's, it is what it is. And then Serial Killer is about a person who is obsessed with the serial killer. So they're actually not that different. It's
no.
That one's basically because they're set between like the 70s, 80s, 90s period. And some of them are more like the first one is a romance, but then the rest of them are like well, actually the second one on that list is like a literary, but it's about ghost hunting. So it's like a fair few of them. It's what whatever. The point is that I've separated them into like categories that kind of make sense together. Like they would make sense if they were released one after the other, from an audience perspective, because I felt like that was a smart move for me because I want to self-publish. And so I think it makes more sense if an agent was to like look at my sort of work and go, oh yeah, I could publish these 4 Formula One books, and then I could also pitch these other books to the same sort of editor, right? Like that was my theory. That is like a way of saying it that I haven't been able to think of until now. Like that is it basically, is that like this is me trying to make myself a better candidate for agents and stuff. And I just wanted to talk about that with you because like my current project is one on the top list. My next project, when I've finished with the World War II book, because I just want to get that out of the way so that it's like finished and it's not half finished sat in a pile waiting for me. But I do have like this plan going forward, and I think it's really interesting because Novel November stuff, Camp NovelBound, is part of that for me. Like I'm trying to wrap up Formation Lap so that I can move on to the other projects sort of thing. Do you think from now that you will just stick solely to fantasy?
It depends. So, like, I mean, the next 5 books are going to be fantasy, so that's not really helping my point. But, like...
You have plans for other stuff, basically.
Yeah, so that's what... Like, you've got yours. Mine are just in my head. I'm not this organised. So, like, Heartbeats on Air was one I always wanted to be my debut. It was always one that was like, I just need to get it out there. Like, I need to tell this story that happened to me, that, like, I've used a lot of my teenage experience that just really reflected in a lot of my early life. And now I feel like I've kind of dealt with that in a way, because writing is a reflective thing when you think about it as well.
Yeah,
Like
it's
you're getting
catharsis,
out,
isn't it?
yeah, you're getting all these emotions out. I mean, this one, it doesn't have as much personal stakes, I will say, because it's fantasy. I can be more distant with it.
Yeah.
But like there's obviously things where I do tie into bigger themes because that's just something that I do inherently anyway. like
I think
like
it's very
look,
natural for us. I think
yeah,
we've discussed this a lot actually. We both tend to even subconsciously include certain things that just
show up.
yeah.
So, like my first two, obviously the pirate duology. It's called Project C for now. I haven't got a title. I had a title, and then
It's
I saw
so hard with fantasy
someone
books
else
though.
used it, and I was like, no, I can't use that now. So now I've got to think of another name. So and then the next series I have is actually another. I mean, I suppose it's going to be. I suppose the pirate fantasy is it a high fantasy because it's set in a
Yeah,
fictional world. It's not low, so both of them are going to be high fantasies. Because the next one is going to be a trilogy, and that's called the first one is called The Stag Prince. I can't say the name of the sequel because that would explore like the whole plot point of that.
yeah.
That's going to deal a lot with like that's going to be more of what you know for a fantasy kind of vibe, or I might change it, who knows. And then like not that this is planned, but I have an idea for a ghost story. um it's kind of referenced in Heartbeats on Air, if you remember Caldwell Manor. That is referenced.
Interesting.
Short story I wrote about that. So I might build upon that. Then I have that army story that I talked about, like that was a kind of the criticism of the system.
Yeah,
And if you think about like Kate Bush's Army Dreamers, that I
that's
mean,
the vibe.
this is long before that's kind of the vibe, yeah. Like long before I knew that kind of vibe, but so it's like a criticism of that. Just in the current climate, and then I've got an idea for an urban fantasy that I quite liked. I did actually write a first draft of it about 6 years ago, during NaNoWriMo actually, and it's not very good.
But that was
It's not
6
very
years
good.
ago.
Yeah, it's but I'll see if I can find it. Like I actually was reading through it and some of it is quite good, so I probably will go back and like change it perhaps.
Mm.
But the thing is, if I can actually find it now.
Thing that is worth saying is that like writing a whole book in November it's not fully feasible. There are some people who can write like 10,000 words a day. Obviously, they would be able to. But there are a lot of people who they just aim for 50,000 because it's a push, but it's an attainable push if they find it attainable. Camp NovelBound, I really like that you're allowed to pick your own goal. Because I do think that it means that you can participate, but you don't feel that pressure. I've definitely felt a pressure myself, and I like that pressure. I like having to write every day, otherwise, I feel like I'm falling behind because it keeps me doing stuff. And like, I'm forgetful enough that that is like what I need to motivate me, basically. But I think that the main benefit is that you get like the words on the page, you get the start done, you get over the really intimidating hump that comes at like 30, 40k for a lot of people.
Mm.
And the reason the reason why, as I said, I brought up the fact that I'm like streamlining stuff and the why I wanted to ask about it is because I feel like sometimes, like how I was talking about how I struggled a lot and I'm still struggling with writing a sequel of a book that I haven't written for a while, I think that it's good to flex your genre muscles, but writing like a whole book, especially like I have written 2.5 books this month. And I say 2.5 books, I've started two, gotten about 30k into both of them, and I finished two others. So like and yeah, the other two that one of them is quite short. They're both a bit on the underside because they need a lot of development for the second books. They were books in different genres. But like I have written in a different genre every time that I've written a book this year until now when I'm writing the sequel to a book that I've already written and therefore is obviously in the same genre. I feel like it is worth thinking as a writer sometimes that writing in the same genre, yes, it can be limiting. And it is, I would say, even if you like know that you're only going to write literary fiction that is like set in the contemporary world, it is good to sort of have a go at like writing a short story or something, for example, in fantasy, or to just, use like those unutilized areas of writing to strengthen your skill, because the better that you get at writing things that you don't plan on actually writing novels in, the better your books will be in the genre you do write in. But
Mm.
also, it is worth sometimes thinking like maybe I should write these books in this genre together, just so that, especially if they're ideas that you really like, why not just do them now? Like, why not do them when you've got them? Because I am struggling a lot, and I think part of that is that I'm comparing this to a book that already exists that I wrote, which is edited, and much higher quality than this first draft will ever be. But I'm also comparing it to the other big, like the World War II one that I put on pause specifically for this process because I was having a lot more trouble writing that quickly. I like
Mm.
that book, but it's so different that like the characters are different. They live in a different time period. The amount of research I have to do for it is something that has massively slowed me down. The process of writing that book, honestly, I might do it alongside writing this book that I'm doing for Novel November. Like I might, when I start slowing down a bit and stop trying to write 2,000 words a day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot.
I've not been hitting it, but I think if I aim for it, I get close enough, Um, so I've been like kind of aiming high, and I think when I cool down a bit after November's over, I'll be able to maybe do two at once, and it should be nice, I think, to balance it. And I think again that's good because like when you have a publishing deadline, that's a lot of the time what you expect it to do. But it just is really like I think there's a lot to be discussed there, and I think that there is a benefit to doing like a batch of like the same genre.
Mm.
And I'm sure you will probably find that to be true as well when you're like going on to your next trilogy and you're thinking of like, it's like, oh, well, I just wrote a fantasy, so my fantasy bones have been well worn in,
Mm-hmm.
It's a really
I
stupid way
mean,
of putting it.
no, but it's just like, I wish I could write 2,000 words a day, but just like if I had no other things to do, I probably would be able to, but
It's
I
not
just don't
feasible.
have time. No, like I mean, like some days you write 100, some days you don't write anything. Like I always feel like if I'm writing for me, if I'm writing every single day, it just feels like I said, it feels like a job. But when I come back to it, like if I've taken a couple of days off, my mind is fresh. It's like that with anything when I'm learning something. If I come back to it, I'm like, yes. So it's always good to refresh your mind, I think.
I do agree.
Especially with like I work part-time. Well, I have 3 jobs.
Yeah.
like, so
It's
like
crazy, but every time I hear it, I'm like, oh my god.
yeah, like I'm trying to work my normal job that I have, which I'm trying to get a new job for those 3 days that I work. Then I've got my like writing assistant role, which I don't get paid for. I wish I did. Like
Yeah.
I'm just pretending my expenses are getting paid to me. That's what I do. But if I am aiming for the lead writer next year, hopefully, if I can.
Ooh.
And then obviously I've got my actual author job, which I
You
speaking
have to
of,
take it very seriously because that's how you get sales as a self-published.
yeah, so like I'm doing my first festival this week, and like I said, so hopefully I'll get some money towards that. I've got to check everything works. I've got to pack and everything after this. And I also had an email this morning. My royalties from Amazon, it's not a lot,
But
but
you
I'm
have
actually
them.
getting not yet, no. I've got to wait 2 to 5 days, but I'm getting because with Amazon KDP, it takes up to like 3 months before your book's released. But once you start getting them, it's every 2 months, I think, something like that. So I am
Ooh.
actually going to get some a bit. I've already had my first kind of like paid check when I did my book launch, so I
Yeah.
already have had, and I've sold obviously a few copies to family and friends, so that's been cash in hand. So I have started earning. So like it is a job because I have started earning money for it, but I get
Yeah.
my royalties soon. It like again,
With Amazon as
I
well, if you buy a book, if you read it on Kindle Unlimited, the author gets like, I think, £1 for finishing the whole book,
Yeah.
which is insane. So it makes sense.
Which is why I'm doing these book festivals, because I've got pay for a copy, but I can earn more in revenue doing book festivals and things than I can doing it the other way.
Yeah, you get it
But
yourself.
I've got to get on my case and doing more marketing. It's just been, I'm good for next year. I'm going to come up with a whole plan. It's just been like with my masters and stuff. I've just been trying to kind of like relax a little bit, but now like it's over and almost over and done with. I need to get myself back on track and start doing marketing again.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because I've been uploading once a week. Let me get my phone, I'll check. Because did I just say once a week?
Once a day.
Okay, good. I
You did say once a week, but you mean once a day.
Yeah. At least you knew what I meant. I
Yeah.
post once a day on TikTok, and I have been like, every time I get a video where it's like, do these things to get more stuff on TikTok, I actually watch them. I used to skip them because I was like, yeah, whatever. Now I'm like, okay, maybe I should listen. Like, oh, maybe I should. But I will say, I have had TikTok now for what, like a year, and what month is it? It's November, which is 11. It's like a little under a year and a half. I have 477. Now, that's not brilliant. However, when I started, I was still very ill. I didn't like to be on camera as much, like with my face and stuff. I didn't really feel comfortable. Like, I didn't have my YouTube channel at that point. And I think this conversation is going crazy. I just want to acknowledge that, because this is not at all the way I thought this was going to go. But I have gained close enough for me to say this, in my opinion, because I am easily impressed. Nearly 500 people on TikTok. A lot of those people are people who are very clearly interested in the one book, but I also get a lot of people who like the other books that I've come up with, and who think that some of these things are cool. And I think, honestly, I've been posting every day. I've been told that you should use your story every day as well on TikTok, because they apparently like when you do that. So I've been starting doing that as of yesterday. And they like when you comment on other people's videos and like engage with them properly. So I've been trying to do more of that. But I feel so awkward, and I like, all of this is to say that I fully understand why it's difficult for you, because I am still too ill to like do anything at all, basically. I had a hospital appointment yesterday, and after that I did nothing because I was exhausted. I slept today until legitimately like 1 o'clock, just because I was so tired.
Do you know what though? It's over and done with. It's like, I've got a doctor's appointment next Wednesday. It's like all of these real life things come just like slamming in, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm having to miss, like, I'm gonna miss out because I've got to go to the doctors. I'm not complaining about missing work, but like I do miss out on the money, which
Yeah.
is annoying. But like I'm that's why I'm working in the morning, so I at least have something for that day. But like what I've got to have done, I cannot go back because it's so uncomfortable. Is all I'm gonna say. I can't go back to work after. You have to go and like
You're not
you
allowed,
have
really.
it. Well, not allowed. You can go, but like last time, I know I didn't cope very well, so I am not going to go back. I'm going to go home.
But I
My
think
dad's taking me because I'm like, I need someone to take me. I can't drive myself back afterwards.
yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, right? Like, I don't have a job right now. Would love one. I would love the money again, but I just can't have one. Like, even if it was remote, I don't think I have the consistency right now to be doing that. And I'm able to film a video every day. For TikTok, I have been doing decently well with doing uploads for my YouTube channel. Like, I am focusing on this a lot. I'm writing every day, basically, when I try. I tend to get at least 1,000 or so words done, because the project that I'm working on right now is like, it's one that I'm very comfortable in this world, even if I'm uncomfortable with it at the same time. you're not in that position. You're writing a different genre than your last book, which you spent years on, which you published and you're trying to market like right now, whilst also living a busy life. Like you have people that you're able to go and hang out with in real life. Like I have a few of that, obviously, but most of the time I'm home. So like the stuff that I've been doing, it's stuff that like I'm setting for myself. Like I'm supposed to be doing exercise today. I don't know if I'm going to be able to because let's just say that I'm having a little bit of pain.
Oh no.
Yeah. I did a video.
Oh,
I filmed
oh
that video that I
no.
was talking about. And
Oh.
you know when like you just are like ah
In pain. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I woke up and I was like, this is gonna be a fun day. This is gonna be a really fun day. I can just feel my whole like insides just shriveling up. That's great. Thank you, body, for doing that today. But
And being a woman, great.
yeah, but I'll do it tomorrow or whatever. Like it'll be fine. It's like, but that's the thing, right? Like I have the ability to be flexible. That's my point. The things that I set myself, they're supposed to be challenging, but they are supposed to be things that I do and I like enjoy them. And that you have to do things because you have to.
I wish, yeah. I have to, like I said, I am trying to get a new part-time job. I think just for where I am at the moment, I can't really work full time because of just the amount of stuff I'm doing. But like this job that I'm trying to get a job that's the job I applied to. It's got a bit more income, and I can work from home twice a week. Which working from home, it adds so much time. Like I can, it's not because sitting in traffic is what takes most of the time up.
Oh yeah, your traffic is mental. You tell me like
Oh
you just
yeah.
spent like 2 hours driving home, and I actually just am like, oh my god,
Yeah, well, like it took me 40 minutes the other day.
it's just crazy. And the thing is as well, you work in Leeds? No, where do you?
No, I don't work in Leeds.
No, you do the in the place.
What?
You travel on like Saturdays when you work. You work.
Oh,
in, like,
no, that's yeah. It's like 20 minutes down the road.
whatever.
So
I thought okay.
no, Leeds. God, no.
No, I was gonna say I
No.
was like that sounds quite far.
I wouldn't do it
actually.
if it was Leeds. No, it's literally in the next town over. It is a 20-minute drive. Like I could get the train if I wanted to, but that means I would have to go to the town where I live, like part of the city, get the train and then walk to it. It's just quicker to drive. Like it's longer on the train.
Yeah, I did. But that's the thing, right? Like working from home as well. It's one of those things where it's been proven that people work better, like more efficiently or whatever, when they're on their own schedule. Um, which is why a lot of people are like, well, I want flexible working hours. Like I want to be able to choose when I come in, when I leave, rather than it being like a 9 to 5, because that's what works for people. I'm not good in the mornings. Sorry, I'm just not. I work better in like the afternoon to the evening. My brain just switches on and it doesn't switch off until I go to sleep. And I think that would be so good for you because you would be able to be an author more than you currently are able to. And it's like, that is one of the reasons why I can't self-publish, because I feel like I'm in over my head sometimes now. And I am planning, like I'm getting treatment, like officially. I got an appointment today, by the way. From that appointment yesterday, I've got one in January.
That was quick. Do you know what? That's quick for them. That is quick for the NHS.
The man who saw
That
me,
is
the
quick.
doctor, he did say he was putting it through urgent, but then the nurse who was in there was like, yeah, I don't know, it's always hard to tell. And I got one today for like early January. Great. Thank you, NHS. Love you right now. Like, thank you.
Like that, I will say, for all their faults, that is pretty good for them.
That is, I was like genuinely shocked. I sent that to my parents and I was sending it to them as if I'd just gotten a 5-figure book deal. Like,
to be fair, with my appointment next week, they literally texted me and said, please book an appointment.
Yeah.
So literally I just went on and just
Yeah, I'll
I
do
hate
it.
talking to people on the phone. Even though I have to do it for my job, I still hate it during the doctor. So I did schedule my. I hate using the word adulting because it's very millennial, but I
Yeah.
did that. So yeah, I just need to get it over and done with, or else I'm never going to do it. So
Yeah. But I think it's the thing, right? Like, again, that's like what the first book of Formation Lab didn't really deal with, that the one I'm writing now does. Like, she's a proper adult now. She lives in her own place that she rents for money, you know?
mm.
Like,
I mean,
she has to like have a job, not just because she loves a job, but because she lives in a place that's expensive to live in. She has responsibilities around the house. There's like the idea that she has to travel to see her parents who live in a different country, that her best friend lives in a different country, that, you know, there are these people that she really loves and cares about. Her boyfriend is an American guy who films a lot of stuff like in America. He's a movie star. That's a half spoiler. I don't really care. It's fine. It's not that big of a
I mean,
spoiler.
it's not essential. It's not central to the plot, really, is it?
Yeah,
That's
he takes more of a role in the second book, but even then, like, her relationship with him is not the priority. Like, her relationship with her friends is more important. Especially
exactly.
Al. Al gets a huge role in the second book. Um, his development has been in like the running for a really long time,
Mm.
and there's a reason for it. That's all I'm gonna say. But like writing about that stuff, I think is really interesting to me, especially because like I'm at that point. I'm going to be living in a house by myself, and I'm very privileged that I don't really have to worry too much about, you know, stuff like that, because if nothing else, my mum, for example, would love to have me move back home. It's a bit difficult because she has dogs, I have cats.
Mm.
It's very difficult, but I feel like this book is dealing with a lot of stuff that I'm going to be dealing with. And obviously, my adult experience has been very different. I didn't expect to be dealing with an unknown illness. I didn't expect to have to take 2 years out of university just to figure it out. But when I go back to university, my schedule is going to be busy. And I'm going to have to figure out the whole writing. I've decided I want to do ballet properly. Like, seriously, I'm looking into like buying stuff for it. I want to do more violin stuff. I want to be fluent in French. Like, I'm just adding stuff to my list, and it's already very overwhelming. And I'm disabled. I have to remember that sometimes. And I look at you and
Like
you're
you
doing
can
all
only,
this.
yeah, but like I'm just like, but then again, I crash and burn sometimes as well. Like I don't do it all the time
Yeah.
because I will crash and burn otherwise. Like some days I will. Like last was it like Wednesday, Tuesday night? I just could not. I literally
Even
wrote
last night, you
maybe.
were like, I need to get up and get ready. But
I just couldn't get. My brain. I just could not motivate myself to do a lot yesterday. I managed to write 1,000 words, but it took me all day.
yeah.
Like I was doing other stuff, yes, but that's because I was up at 6:30. We know that.
I think
To be fair, I can get stuff done early in the morning. It's easier for me.
See, I just think that is. This is not what the conversation was going to be like when we planned it, but I think it's really interesting that, like,
It does.
you know, writing, especially if you're not traditionally published, and if you're not a traditionally published person who has been given a lot of support by the publisher. I have seen so many traditionally published authors who have to do all of their own marketing. They have very little sort of, even I think like The Lamb, you look at The Lamb, that is done really well. There have been a lot of events done for that. But I would still
Mm.
say that it's a lesser known book than, for example,
What are Brandon Sanderson's novels?
right. It like the publishing industry, it has a few favorites at any given moment.
Well, we could have said Donna Tartt.
Yeah, if Donna Tartt published a new book, it would be everywhere.
Yeah.
And the last one was 11 years ago.
She's probably writing it to be 400,000 words.
Yeah.
It's going to come out in 2030.
I think that like it is really important to acknowledge sometimes that everything that we've said in this episode, basically, where I am traditionally publishing because I have a lot of not self-esteem issues, so to speak. I've actually become a bit vain. Not like massively, but I don't think I'm like ugly anymore. I used to think that I was kind of ugly. And now
You're not.
but see, like, that's the thing. I used to, and now I'm kind of like, you know what? I look pretty good today, actually.
I have days where I'm like, you look okay, and then other days I'm just like, mm-hmm,
Like,
you
what bridge did
exist.
I crawl out of, you know? It's honestly,
Oh,
I think that's part of like the joy and the pitfalls of this is that like you're putting yourself out there a lot to market your book. And you have to do that no matter which publishing route you take nowadays. And it's like you're self-published, so you probably at times have doubts. I know that you are quite confident in your work, which is good. Like that's why you publish, because you were like, this deserves to be published. But as well, for a lot of people, I imagine there's that the sort of doubts that I'm going through, but amplified because like there's also other people who are like, well, self-publishing isn't like real publishing, like you're not a real author and stuff like that. And I just, it, I am like not strong enough to have that on top of everything. Do you know what I mean? Like,
the thing is, I don't believe that. That's the thing, because it's like, again, when I'm
yeah,
talking back to the agents, it's all speculative.
it's
Some things like
so.
some books that get published now, I'm like, how did that even get
Some books that get
published?
self-published get like traditionally published, but they barely get
Exactly.
changed. And that's even if they
Exactly.
weren't like the best book when they were self-published, perhaps, because
Like, is
people.
it Frida McMadden or whatever her name is? She like wasn't she self-published, and oh, I don't want to say her name, but like the romance author that everyone,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I don't like saying her name because like I'm sick of hearing about her, but yeah.
I know one who is pro AI who I actually read the first book, and
Is it this lady that's got into a load of controversy and her books?
that's the
Yeah,
thing.
I've seen all the drama about that.
I saw those books and I was intrigued because I thought they were. This goes back to our last conversation that we had like a week ago or whatever. Trashy books, right? Not a negative statement, just like the sort of genre that they're in is like they're books that are
Hmm.
supposed to be messy and juicy, like gossip sort of thing. I thought that it was that. So I read the first one and I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was easy to read. It wasn't like necessarily well written, I wouldn't have said. But I was like, I hate all of these people and I'm watching them blow up into a million pieces with pride at the fact that that's happening because that's what they deserve. It's the least that they deserve. People actually
Hmm.
like those people. I found that out. I found out that the author, like, and I'm like, no. And the second book I kind of hated. So I feel like to me, I especially like with the stuff that came out, a really bad taste was in my mouth over those books because it isn't it to me it shouldn't have been a romance. Like there's nothing romantic about these characters' lives. And B, it wasn't like actually a well-written book. It was enjoyable, but it was enjoyable in the way that I think like really bad reality TV shows are enjoyable. And I don't feel
Hmm.
bad saying that because the author uses AI, which I didn't know before I read it, okay? But like I think that it's like this idea that a lot of people have about self-publishing, and because of how self-conscious I am already of my writing and I need like validation or whatever, you know, I'm proud of what I write and I think that there are things that I've written that are objectively good and objectively deserving of being published. Whether or not a professional would take them on is a different thing. It isn't for everybody. Formula One, especially without the romance that a lot of Formula One books that get published have, it is a more niche thing, especially because it isolates perhaps the male audience by being about a woman and being queer inclusive and stuff. But I think that it to me is like it's that is why I want a trad pub, besides the fact that I also just don't want to have to put all of the additional hours in of publishing. Having seen you
Hmm.
go through it, like I have so much respect, more than I had before, even for authors who indie publish because it's so difficult. And
Oh yes.
like, there's a reason it's called self publishing. You do everything.
Yeah, I think the thing is, people think it's like, oh, we've spoken about this like before in other episodes, just
Yeah.
the discipline and the fact that you need to do it properly. So you need to get the editing. Some people will just straight up publish without any editing, and I think that's where
Gets a
the
bad rap.
stigma, yeah, that's where the stigma comes in, because you don't want to like there are a few mistakes that I probably missed that I need to go back and like check, but I was so thorough. Like there will be things I miss because
You're human.
to make mistakes is, yeah, exactly. But like I literally, what was I on, state like draft 4,
Yeah.
and then and then I literally got a developmental edit just while I was querying. In most of the stuff that she found that like I improved on that she mentioned, there was just a lot, like some of the character interactions she was like, you could do that, did it, so I did that. And then like I literally just got a line edit, and I think some of her line edits were good, some of them I didn't agree with, but like that's the thing, you get to pick and choose
Yeah.
because it's your story. And yeah, and then like Al designing my book cover, like that was probably the
Fun.
that was the fun bit, and the most expensive, like especially like, this is what I mean, speaking, right, I'm just gonna like speaking about the AI and things like that.
Yeah.
Why would you want to have a book club? Yes, I understand that some people may not have the funds, but like you will find artists who can do like a payment plan, or you can find artists that will do cheaper. Like the amount of effort that's gone into my book cover, like, and you can see that reflected in the book design
It's
itself.
such a
Like
good cover,
obviously,
man. It's so good.
yeah, yeah, I had to learn how to format as well. That was fun. But like, I love the book cover so much. Like, because I said this to my boyfriend. Like, I was like, originally I had this idea in my head, but as soon as Elle sent me like, it was the same kind of like character design, but like with her input, because she's got more of an artist eye than I do,
Yeah.
and I was like, I could just see the visual appeal. I was like, that looks so much better. We're going with that idea. He did most of the other design. Like, it's just amazing.
And the thing is as well, we have a guest who we don't know exactly when she's going to be on, but she is sort of straddling both sides of publishing, um,
Hmm.
as a result of the pitfalls of the trad pub industry. And I think that's really interesting because I have considered self-publishing, and for the reasons that I've said in this episode and a bunch of episodes, I don't think it's right for me because of like my weaknesses as a person, which is not like an insult to myself. It's an acknowledgement of the truth, you know. But I think that it is like really it's a fun process to see your own work come to life and you be responsible for it.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it basically, as writers, we have a lot of pressure on us. It's very difficult. The sort of order of doing like a writing challenge like Camp NovelBound, for example, it's really good to test yourself this way, I think, sometimes, just to, you know, remind yourself that you can
Hmm.
do this sort of like amount of progress in a month or something. And I think it's also good to acknowledge that sometimes you need to just take breaks, and that sometimes you need to do this kind of book, and yeah, you might want to write this book, but is it the best time to write this book? Like, there's just so much that goes into being a writer, and there's so much from external circumstances that impact it, and it's just so, like, I just think it's such an interesting conversation. Hopefully people at home agree, otherwise this episode's gonna be
Yeah.
this was fun, I hope.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very interesting discussion, especially in terms of just like where we are as people and like what paths we want to take. Like we've
Yeah,
spoken about it in the past, obviously, but like just just
because
who we are as people.
as well, like your book is especially new. Like, I've decided
It's
in a
not. It's
direction.
about. Mm, it's like 2 months old, and I am gonna wrap up the marketing. I think I need to get on that case.
Yeah,
Consistency pays off.
it does. That's what I was
And
trying to say with my TikTok, was like, I may have only gained about 500 people on TikTok in a month. I've gained about 40 on YouTube, which I think I started last, maybe in January actually of this year or something.
mm,
Or I'd have to check that for sure. But like, it works, and I think it's unfortunate that it works. Because like, it means you have to put in the effort, but yeah. There's so much to think about with being a writer in the modern world, and unfortunately being a recluse is just not possible. But yeah,
No, we can't. I'd love to go live in a cabin in the mountains in Scotland, but that ain't gonna happen. So,
if anyone at home listening, you might not be at home, but if you're listening and you're a writer or a creative in general and you've experienced similar stuff, please do tell us about it. We would love to hear from you.
hmm
But yeah, thank you for listening and goodbye.
yeah, bye.